Think about something that happened yesterday. Nothing extraordinary, nothing life-changing, maybe a simple conversation, a meal you enjoyed, or a place you went. Now notice how that memory feels inside you. It does not carry excitement or uncertainty. You are not sitting there wondering if it will happen. You are not trying to convince yourself that it was real. There is no tension, no fear, no desperate need to believe. It simply exists. It happened. It is complete. It is a quiet fact of your life. You do not need to force yourself to trust that memory. You do not need to chase it. You do not need to hold on to it tightly because its reality is already accepted. That calm, natural, effortless feeling of something that is already finished is the feeling you must learn to bring to your desires. Not the feeling of waiting, not the feeling of hoping, not the feeling of wondering when it will finally arrive. Instead, the feeling of something already accomplished, something that has already become part of your story. And when you truly enter that state, not pretending, not forcing, but genuinely experiencing it within yourself, something begins to shift. The distance between where you are and where you want to be starts to disappear. The separation created by doubt, fear, and waiting begins to dissolve. Your inner world changes, and your outer experience begins to move in harmony with that new assumption. This is the lesson we are exploring tonight. But first, you must understand the mistake that keeps so many people from experiencing their desires. Most people think of what they want as something that exists somewhere ahead of them. They imagine a future moment when everything finally changes. When I have enough money, then I will feel secure. When I find the right person, then I will feel complete. When I achieve success, then my life will become different. Look closely at this pattern. Every time you place your desire somewhere in the future, you are unknowingly creating a state of separation from it in the present moment. You are telling yourself that it is not here yet, and the present state you occupy is the state from which you continue creating. The future is only an idea. You cannot step into tomorrow and experience life there. Every experience you ever have happens in this moment. So when your desire is always something that is coming, something that is approaching, something that will happen someday, it remains exactly where you have placed it, somewhere outside your current experience. You keep looking toward it, waiting for it, expecting it to arrive. But what if the secret is not moving toward your desire? What if the secret is learning to stand in the place where it has already happened? Because there is a completely different relationship you have with something that belongs to the past. You do not hope that yesterday happened. You do not wonder if it will happen. You do not try to create belief around it. You simply know it is finished, it is settled, it is already part of your reality. A memory does not require effort from you. It does not need constant attention to remain true. It carries a quiet certainty because you have accepted it as a fact. This is the state you want to bring to your desires. Not the energy of chasing, not the energy of needing, not the energy of trying to make something happen, but the peaceful certainty of someone remembering an experience that has already become real. The key is this: you can create what feels like a memory before it appears in your physical experience. You can imagine from the perspective of having already received it. Your subconscious mind responds to the feelings and assumptions you repeatedly accept. When something becomes natural and familiar within you, your thoughts, decisions, behaviors, and awareness begin to align with that reality. You start noticing opportunities you previously ignored. You begin acting from confidence instead of fear. You move differently because your inner identity has changed. Your external world begins reflecting the state you consistently occupy. Tonight, before you sleep, try something different. Do not imagine yourself moving toward your desire. Do not focus on the moment of receiving it, because that still contains the feeling of waiting. Instead, move beyond the moment of achievement. Imagine yourself after it has already happened. Imagine that enough time has passed and your desire has become normal. If you desire financial freedom, do not only picture the moment you receive money. Imagine yourself months later, living as someone for whom abundance is ordinary. Feel the calmness of no longer worrying. Feel the relief of knowing that the struggle is behind you. Experience the quiet confidence of someone who remembers when life changed. The goal is not excitement, the goal is familiarity. The goal is to make your desired reality feel so natural that your mind no longer treats it as something impossible or distant. Become the person who looks back and says, I remember when this was only a dream. Because the moment you stop seeing your desire as something you are waiting for and begin experiencing it as something already accepted within you, you transform your entire relationship with life. If you desire financial freedom, do not imagine only the moment when the money arrives. Do not stay focused on the excitement of receiving it for the first time. Move beyond that moment. Imagine yourself months later when abundance has become normal. The money is no longer a surprise. It is simply part of your everyday reality. You wake up knowing that this is your life now. If you desire a loving relationship, do not only picture the first meeting or the beginning of the romance. Move ahead to a time when the relationship has already become natural. The excitement of something new has settled into the comfort of something familiar. This person is simply a part of your world, and it feels strange to even remember life before they were there. If you desire healing, do not focus only on the process of getting better. Imagine yourself far beyond the struggle. Imagine a future where your body feels strong again, where feeling healthy is no longer something you chase, but something you simply experience. The key is this: go to the moment after the transformation, because the moment of during still carries the feeling of becoming. It still contains movement, waiting, and uncertainty, but the moment after carries the feeling of being. It feels complete. It feels normal. It feels like this is simply my life now. From that future state, turn your attention backward. Do not imagine how your desire might happen. Remember how it happened. There is a difference. Imagine you wanted your dream home. Maybe you have spent months visualizing getting the keys, opening the door for the first time, and finally receiving what you wanted. Tonight, try something different. Close your eyes and place yourself inside that home after you have already lived there for several months. The furniture is arranged, the boxes are gone, you know where everything is. This is no longer a dream or a goal, this is home. And from that peaceful, ordinary feeling, begin to remember. I remember the day we received the keys. I remember the relief I felt after so much uncertainty. I remember realizing that it was finally done. Maybe you remember calling someone you love and sharing the news. Maybe you remember walking through the rooms for the first time. Maybe you remember waking up there on the first morning and seeing the sunlight coming through the window, thinking, this is real, this belongs to me. Feel the difference. You are not waiting. You are not trying to convince yourself. You are not imagining something that might happen. You are remembering. And remembering creates a completely different state of consciousness. It carries a quiet certainty, a feeling of acceptance, a feeling that says, of course this happened. It is already part of my story. Now let's understand why this practice can feel so powerful. Your subconscious mind does not experience time in the same way your logical mind does. It does not organize experiences according to calendars and dates like your conscious mind does. It responds to the impressions, emotions, and assumptions you repeatedly accept. A memory feels real because your mind accepts it as an experience. When you repeatedly enter the feeling of remembering your desire as something already completed, you send a clear message within yourself. This is real. This is already done. This is part of who I am. And from that inner assumption, your thoughts, choices, behaviors, and awareness begin to shift. You start noticing possibilities that you once overlooked. You become aware of opportunities that match the person you are becoming. You find yourself having the right conversations, making different decisions, and moving towards circumstances that reflect your new state. The path begins to unfold naturally, not because you forced every step, not because you controlled every detail, but because your inner world has changed and your actions begin to flow from that new reality. Here is one of the most important lessons. When you remember something from the past, you do not question how it happened. You do not sit there trying to solve the details. You simply know that it happened. The method is no longer your concern because the result already exists in your memory. This is the deepest form of letting go. Not forcing yourself to stop caring, not pretending you do not want it, but reaching a state where you no longer feel the need to control every step. You stop searching for the exact route. You stop trying to predict every detail. You stop demanding to see the entire bridge before taking the first step. When you release the obsession with how, you allow possibilities beyond what your current mind can imagine. The solution can arrive through unexpected people, unexpected ideas, unexpected opportunities, and unexpected moments. The path does not need to look the way you planned. It only needs to lead you to the reality you have accepted within. There was a woman who spent months trying to create a specific financial breakthrough. She visualized the money coming to her. She repeated affirmations every day. She wrote about it in her journal and stayed committed to her practice. But nothing seemed to change. When she explained how she was imagining her desire, the problem became clear. Every night she was focusing on the moment before fulfillment. She was imagining the money arriving. She was feeling the relief of finally receiving it. She was living in the state of almost. And that state was keeping her connected to the feeling of waiting. The instruction she received was simple. Stop imagining the arrival. Move beyond it. Imagine yourself several months later when the money is already part of your life. Imagine that the goal has already been achieved. Then look back and remember the moment it happened. Do not imagine receiving it. Remember receiving it. Experience it the way you would remember something ordinary that happened yesterday. She practiced this every night for 2 weeks, and something changed. The desperation disappeared. Not because she forced herself to stop wanting it, not because she pretended not to care, but because she entered a state where internally she no longer felt like someone waiting for something to happen. She began feeling like someone who had already experienced it. The reason she finally became calm was because she was no longer standing in the position of someone waiting for money to arrive. She had shifted into the state of someone remembering that it had already happened. From that perspective, there was nothing left to panic about. The money had come. She was simply looking back on an event that was already complete. Her external situation had not changed overnight. The numbers in her account were still the same. The circumstances around her were still the same. But something far more important had changed. Her inner relationship with the desire. She moved from constantly reaching toward it to calmly remembering from it. 3 weeks later, her aunt unexpectedly contacted her and offered exactly the amount of money she needed as an early inheritance. It came from a source she had never imagined, and through a connection she had almost forgotten about. There was no struggle, no force, no dramatic chain of events. It arrived naturally, almost as if it had been waiting for her to stop chasing it and accept that it was already possible. This is why the words you use internally matter. Your language shapes your emotional state. Instead of saying, "I hope this money comes," "I am trying to create abundance," shift into the language of completion. "I remember when everything finally worked out. I remember the relief I felt. I remember calling my family because I could barely explain what happened. I was so happy I could not stop laughing." It feels strange that it was only a few months ago because now it feels so normal. For love, do not remain in the state of, "I want to find someone. I am trying to attract my ideal partner." Move into, "I remember when we first met. I remember how natural the conversation felt. I remember how surprising it was that love could feel so easy after waiting for so long. I remember realizing that this was the kind of connection I had always wanted." For health, do not constantly repeat, "I am trying to heal. I'm imagining my body getting better." Instead, remember, "I remember when things started changing. I remember the moment I received the good news. I remember waking up one morning and realizing the pain was gone. I remember how grateful I felt when my body finally felt like itself again." For your career, move away from, "I want success. I am working toward my goals." Instead, "I remember when the opportunity appeared. I remember my first day in that position. I remember how unreal it felt to realize that this was my new normal. I work here now, this is simply my life." Do you notice the difference? The language has changed. The identity has changed. You are no longer speaking as someone waiting for a future event. You are speaking as someone looking back at an experience that has already become part of their life. Now, some people may ask, isn't this just pretending? Isn't creating memories of something that has not happened yet dishonest? The answer is no. Understanding why will make this practice much stronger. The deeper teaching behind this idea is that your desires are not created from nothing. They already exist as possibilities within the infinite field of consciousness. Your physical experience is a reflection of the states you repeatedly occupy. Every version of your life exists as a possibility. The version you experience depends on the assumptions, beliefs, and inner identity you consistently accept. When you create a memory of your fulfilled desire, you are not simply creating a fantasy. You are aligning yourself with a reality that already exists as a possibility. You are not forcing something into existence. You are becoming aware of a state that was available all along. This is why the physical world often appears to move last. The outer world is the reflection. Your consciousness is the source. The visible reality is the echo, not the original voice. When your inner assumption changes from uncertain hoping to quiet certainty, your external experience begins moving toward that new state. Here is a simple daily practice you can use. Every morning before you get out of bed, spend a few minutes entering your desired reality. Imagine that you are already there. Not at the moment of achievement, not during the struggle, but after everything has settled. Months have passed, your desire has become normal. From that place, look back and remember how it happened. Remember the conversation. Remember the opportunity. Remember the moment when you realized everything had changed. Carry that feeling into your day. Then throughout the day, whenever your desire comes into your mind, notice the direction of your thoughts. Are you looking forward with anxiety? Are you wondering when it will happen? Are you waiting for proof? If so, gently shift your perspective. Look backward. Think, yes, I remember that. That is already done. I remember when this became my reality. Even a few seconds of shifting from expectation into remembrance can change the state you occupy. At night before sleep, practice it deeply. Close your eyes and move beyond the moment of receiving. Go into the ordinary life after fulfillment. Feel how normal it is. Feel how natural it is. Then create memories from that place. Remember the day it happened. Remember who you spoke with. Remember what you felt. Remember the details that make it real. Fall asleep in the feeling of remembering, not chasing, not wishing, not trying to convince yourself. Remembering, because the state you enter before sleep has a powerful influence on your subconscious mind. And the final truth is this: when you imagine yourself remembering the future, you're not actually traveling through time. There is nowhere to travel. Past, present, and future are not separate places existing apart from each other. They exist within consciousness. Time is simply the way experiences unfold through perception. What you call the future is not truly somewhere far away. It already exists as a possibility within you. When you remember your desire is fulfilled, you are not creating a false story. You are removing the belief that it is distant. You are accepting a reality that already exists within consciousness. Your desire is already complete in the unseen. The only question is whether you are willing to experience it as true. So tonight, before you sleep, close your eyes. Move beyond the moment of arrival. Enter the life where your desire has been yours long enough to feel ordinary. Then look back. Remember how it happened. Remember what you felt. Remember the moment you realized it was real. Feel the quiet certainty of something complete, the peaceful weight of something finished, and fall asleep in that state. Are almost never defined by perfect words. They are defined by genuine feelings, by honesty, by quiet confidence, and by the willingness to let someone see the real you. When your words come from the heart instead of the mind, they leave a lasting impression, not because they are clever, but because they are true. Authenticity has a way of reaching people that rehearsed lines never can. As the moment before a kiss arrives, everything else seems to disappear. The noise fades, time slows, and suddenly the only thing that matters is the connection between two people. In that moment, you don't need to impress anyone. You only need to be sincere. A few honest words can replace uncertainty with comfort. They can turn nervousness into trust. They remind the other person that the experience belongs to both of you, not just one. That is what real confidence feels like. It isn't about having control. It isn't about saying exactly the right thing. It's about showing up without pretending, about allowing yourself to be seen exactly as you are. The kisses people never forget are rarely the most dramatic. They are the ones filled with warmth, with trust, with emotional closeness. Because what lingers isn't only the kiss itself, it's the feeling that surrounded it, the feeling of being accepted, the feeling of being understood, the feeling of sharing something real. In the end, meaningful connections are never built on perfect performances. They grow through honesty, vulnerability, and genuine presence. So when that special moment comes, don't search for flawless words. Don't chase the perfect script. Speak what is real. Let your heart say what it already knows. Because the words people remember most are not the most polished. They are the ones spoken with complete sincerity. And sometimes being fully present is the most beautiful thing you can ever offer another person. And perhaps that's the lesson hidden inside every meaningful connection. People may forget the exact words you spoke. They may not remember every detail of the moment, but they almost always remember how you made them feel. They remember the calm, the warmth, the acceptance, the feeling that for a brief moment they didn't have to pretend to be anyone else. That is the kind of memory that stays, not because it was loud, but because it was deeply real. In a world where so many interactions are rushed, guarded, and uncertain, authenticity becomes unforgettable. It stands out without trying to. It draws people closer without force. Because nothing is more attractive than someone who is comfortable enough to be genuine. Real intimacy doesn't begin with a kiss. It begins long before that. It begins when two people choose honesty over fear, presence over distraction, connection over performance. And when that foundation is there, every shared moment carries more meaning. Every smile feels warmer. Every glance feels deeper. Every touch feels more intentional. That is why the smallest moments often become the biggest memories. Not because they were planned, but because they were real. So never underestimate the power of your presence. Never believe that you need perfect words to create a meaningful connection. Your sincerity will always speak louder than any rehearsed line. Your honesty will always be remembered longer than any attempt to impress. Because in the end, people rarely fall in love with perfection. They fall in love with the moments that make them feel understood, accepted, and emotionally safe. And those are the moments they carry with them long after the kiss is over. In the end, The most unforgettable moments are never created by perfect words or flawless timing. They are created by two people who choose honesty over performance, presence over fear, and connection over pretense. When you speak from the heart and allow yourself to be fully seen, even the simplest words can leave a lasting mark. Because long after the kiss is over, what remains isn't the moment itself. It's the feeling of being genuinely understood, accepted, and deeply connected. And that is the kind of memory people never forget.